What is going on, YouTube? I'm trying this again. We had a little bit of a technical glitch the last time around where it was just bouncing me all over the place and it was saying I had a bad connection and all this and that. So here I am again. Today's video, I want to talk a little bit to you directly on a live broadcast here about the kinds of foods that you can eat during your workout to actually elicit the best fat loss to get the best result overall. So it's going to be a little bit unconventional, a little bit different style of foods than you would normally see. But before I get rolling, I want you guys to make sure you comment where you're watching from so that I know who I'm talking to so that I can have the best engagement possible. So I'm going to wait for a couple minutes here for an audience to build just because I know how the YouTube algorithm works and we're going to have to wait for a few people to join on in as they get the notifications and as all that happens. If you are joining in, feel free to comment and let me know again where you're watching from so that I can say hello, even if you were just on the last broadcast that may have gotten screwed up. All right, we've got Gio Pepe, what's going on? Good to see you again. You were just on the last broadcast that got a little bit messed up. We've got Jeremiah from Minnesota again. Good to see you here. Awesome. Glad that you guys came back. I think the technical difficulties are done now. I think it seems to be working. We've got UK in the house. What's going on in the United Kingdom? Good to see you here as well. Anyone that is just joining in, make sure you comment and let me know where you're watching from so that I can shout you out. You see, typically speaking, people are always talking about what kind of foods you can eat pre-workout and what kind of foods to eat post-workout. What's going on, Ryan in Oklahoma? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining in. So the purpose of this video is to talk about what can you do if you are deprived of calories and you're trying to get a little bit more calories in throughout the course of your workout to potentially reduce levels of cortisol. Now I'm going to talk about two different situations in this video. I'm going to talk about the foods that you can eat if you're not on a low carb diet. So if you're trying to have the right kind of carbohydrates coming in at the right time, but I'm also going to talk about the kind of foods that you can eat if you are on a low carb diet or you're in ketosis and what the best things that you can do intra-workout are. Now, I know we still are having some technical issues. YouTube's given me a little bit of an error saying that notifications may not have been able to go out. So I know there aren't as many people on this broadcast as I normally would have. Cole, what's going on in San Francisco? Good to see you here. Hopefully everyone can see this. So I'm going to get right down to the nitty-gritty of it. That way we are making this content good for those that come in at a later point in time as well. And then I want to open it up to Q&A afterwards so that you guys can have a good indicator of getting some personalized approaches. You know, if you have questions that you want to ask pertaining to what can you eat during a workout, pre-workout, post-workout, but also kind of open it up to ketosis questions and stuff in general, since I have a lot of questions that come into my inbox and come into the comment stream. These are my chances here to do these kinds of videos and talk with you guys. And if you can, if you're watching the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, just because what that does is that helps me out, helps YouTube rank this a lot better. So it means more people can see it, and it means that I'm going to do these more often and get some live action going here. So what's going on, Tom in Michigan? I'm going to give you the info as quick as I can here. Okay, so the first food is kind of interesting. Believe it or not, I actually recommend, if you are not on a low carb diet, that you consume rice cakes intra-workout. And let me give you a breakdown as to why. Okay, rice cakes are extremely interesting. Now, obviously, if you're in keto, they're not going to work. But a rice cake, what people don't realize about rice cakes is when rice goes through the puffing process, it changes things dramatically. You see, we have these starch chains when they're in any kind of rice or any kind of starch or anything like that. And the starch chains, well, they essentially look like this, okay? They're all starch chains, glucose molecules that are stuck together. Well, when you have rice cakes, they are puffed rice. And through that puffing process of the puffed rice, what happens is these glucose chains end up separating when the air injects. Okay, so what that means is now instead of your body having to cleave off individual glucose molecules, your body simply cleaves off, or your body's able to extract the individual glucose molecules one at a time. So therefore you get a quicker insulin spike and you get more power, more strength, more glucose into your body right then and there. So it ends up being very, very effective, especially if you're someone that really wants to keep the calories low, but wants to have a nice little boost throughout the workout. And the interesting thing is, what a lot of people also don't know is cortisol elevates when we work out, right? A lot of us do know that. But what people don't always know is that one of the only hormones that can actually combat cortisol is insulin. And now the downside is, of course, when you're in ketosis or anything like that, it's hard to combat cortisol. Okay, you're relying on beta hydroxybutyrate coming from the liver, which is also very, very good at blunting cortisol, but you don't have insulin, which is truly the hormone that can blunt cortisol. And Cole, yeah, I'm talking about rice cakes just by themselves. Okay, we're talking something that's got 30 calories in it, and even if you are in ketosis, you're talking something that's got 7 to 11 grams of carbs, so you're typically not doing yourself a lot of damage. It's usually pretty darn powerful and pretty darn easy on the, the whole blood glucose thing, and easy on the ketosis thing if you're really trying to stay strict in ketosis. So that's something that can help you out a lot there. Now, interestingly enough, when you are working out and you have something like a rice cake, it ends up making it so that you're getting that immediate blood glucose and your body's going to draw it in a lot faster. So because the fact that you're drawing water into the muscles at that point in time, it's going to allow the glucose to uptake faster, and therefore you have less glucose flooding through your bloodstream and more glucose going into the muscle. So you might actually find that rather than eating carbs pre-workout, you're actually better off just munching on a few carbs during the course of the workout. You see, this is pretty interesting. A lot of people will just gorge themselves with food before a workout. Not always the best way to go. Or they'll just eat a ton of food right after their workout. Well, a lot of studies are starting to... Sorry, God, I just saw your comment there over to Shadow. It made me laugh. A lot of people think that you have to be eating these specific foods in this perfect post-workout window. Well, in reality, a lot of the research is now showing that you don't really have to have that perfect post-workout window. You see, all it comes down to is remaining in ketosis, if you're in ketosis, or keeping the right kind of macronutrient ratio throughout the course of the day, rather than trying to make yourself get all these specific nutrients at one time of the day immediately post-workout. Guys, I'm going to pause for 1 second. If you are watching, please make sure that you hit that like button. It really helps these videos out a lot, helps get the engagement up a lot more, and it helps show YouTube that these videos are real and that I'm not just giving you cruddy content. So really, if you're watching, I just appreciate you hitting that like button. Helps me out a ton. And if you can, hit that share button as well. It really makes a big difference with the YouTube algorithms and everything like that. I want to do these videos as much as possible, do these lives, and be able to hop on with you guys and answer questions. So, and if you're just joining in, also make sure you comment where you're watching from, because that helps me out a lot too. That way I can shout you out, say hello, make sure you know that I'm watching who's commenting. Okay, the second one that I want to talk about is one that you may not have heard of before. It's called cream of rice, okay? Cream of rice, I don't know if you've ever heard of cream of wheat, but cream of wheat is very similar to cream of rice, except of course cream of wheat has a ton of gluten, which, as you guys know, I'm not the biggest proponent of. I'm always talking about how the antibodies can affect things and always really have a negative effect on the body in a lot of ways. So I end up talking more about cream of rice. Now, the interesting thing about cream of rice, in a very similar fashion to how puffed rice and how rice cakes are great intra-workout. Nikhil George, what's going on in Houston? Good to see you here. If you guys can, make sure you hit that like button. Where is Mr. Timmy, the dog? You know, believe it or not, today is Timmy's birthday. Timmy is 10 years old today, which is awesome. We've got Sheena in New York. We've got Ghetto Gunfighter coming from California. We've got the Business Channel. I don't know what your emoticons mean. Bexta, I don't know how to say your screen name. Great to catch you live in Australia. Awesome. Mel James in NorCal. Awesome to have you here as well. You guys, make sure you hit that like button if you can. I'm going to keep on rolling and keep on getting on. So cream of rice. The nice thing about cream of rice is you can actually put it in to your BCAAs or into your glutamine or into your intra-workout shake. That ends up making it so that you can get a nice quick absorption. What cream of rice essentially is it's pulverized rice. That's really all it is. Like, it's just finely granulated rice. But when it goes through that process of being granulated, it actually creates it so that it has more surface area. So if you think of a grain of rice, okay, and you think how much it has to be broken down and the overall surface area, but then you think about totally granulated rice in a very fine form. Okay, well, that is going to obviously have more surface area because each individual grain has its own little circumference, its own little like surface area, right? So you can absorb a lot more. So the villi, the intestines, can actually grab that and actually extract more out of it. So therefore, you're getting a higher insulin response. Now, generally speaking, in almost all my videos, I'm always talking about how you don't want to spike your insulin. You know, you always want to keep your insulin under control. You want to monitor it. You don't want to spike it too much. But when it comes down to intra-workout, we do want to control our insulin, okay? We want to have these quick spikes that we can control, Because what we don't want is this slow bell curve, this increase in insulin that we can't control, that kind of cascades over the rest of the day. We want this. Yes, we actually even want the drop. Because believe it or not, that rise and fall that's coinciding with your workout can actually make it so that you're getting more out of your workout. And it may cause you to have a slight crash after your workout, but you're going to shuttle more of the nutrients in during your workout. Okay, now this next one I want to talk about is one for those that are low carb. Okay, if you're keto, if you're doing anything like that, this is kind of an obvious one, but I want to break down the science and then turn it open to a little bit of Q&A. This broadcast, for some reason, by the way, everyone, I keep on getting a technical glitch, keep on getting a technical issue where it's telling me that I'm losing my connection and stuff like that. So I know I don't have as many people on this live broadcast as I ordinarily would. So it's a little bit disappointing because I really love it when these broadcasts are big and when I can talk to a big group of people. Okay, Joshua, thanks for telling me there's no glitches on your end. That helps me feel a little bit better because I don't know what's going on. This next one, in the case of ketosis, what kinds of foods can you eat intra-workout? Well, what I suggest is bringing just a tiny Ziploc bag or a tiny packet of coconut oil, okay? Now, you've seen my videos talking about coconut oil, about monolaurin, about lauric acid. You know, it's all fine and dandy. You know it's great stuff. You know, I'm always touting the benefits of it, and it's probably no surprise that this is on my foods list here. But I want to explain why it's so good intra-workout. You see, medium chain triglycerides, MCTs, like in coconut oil or just MCT oil in general, when you consume them intra-workout, it ends up becoming something that your body can alternatively run on as a source of fuel, even if you aren't in ketosis, believe it or not. You see, what happens with medium chain triglycerides is the fats are in such a strange fashion that they don't go down into the liver and they aren't metabolized in a particular way like most fats are. Okay, so most fats have to go through a pretty intense process. They start with gastric lipase breaks. Yeah, Mr. Clever says it's glitching a lot for him. See, I think there is definitely a glitch issue going on. So I really apologize, guys. It's a bummer. I'm going to still continue with this just because I'm already 12 minutes deep in this. And I hope that most people are getting good feed and are able to see this. So I apologize if anyone's getting it glitchy. Sheena says you're getting a glitch. Yusef, he said it's okay. Frank, good connection. All right, well, I think it's enough of a good connection that I keep going with it. So when you break down fats, I've done videos on this before, you are able to, it takes a while, okay? Gastric lipase kicks in, then pancreatic lipase kicks in, and then it converts into micelles, and then it goes into this whole thing. It ends up becoming quite a process, which when you are working out, you usually don't want to take in a ton of fats simply because it's hard to break down. It takes a lot of digestive energy. So you have a lot of blood flow going to your gut, a lot of blood flow that goes into your intestinal tract to make that stuff happen, which means it's diverting energy from what would ordinarily be your workout, and it's diverting it into your digestive system. So ordinarily, I would say kind of steer away from the fats a little bit during your workout, not always the best route to go. But with MCTs in coconut oil, they absorb so much different. You see, those medium chain triglycerides, once they're absorbed, they actually get through the digestive system, they go into the bloodstream very, very fast. And since they don't have to be processed by the liver, they can be used as a form of energy quite immediately. So that's right there the power that we want. Okay, we want our fats to be used for energy. We don't want them to be circulating in the bloodstream, floating around, waiting to essentially be stored in the form of adipose tissue. Okay, so that's why I'm a huge fan of that. Now, whether you're in ketosis or not, that's a huge benefit. But particularly if you are on a low carb diet or you're in ketosis and you're finding that when you're in the gym or you're working out or you're running, you are feeling like you're bonking. Okay, you're feeling like you're getting tired. You're feeling like it's just not working out for you. Well, no pun intended, that's a perfect time to be taking in some coconut oil. And you don't need much, half a tablespoon, that's really all you need. It makes it very, very easy. And you will notice within 5 or 6 minutes, okay, you gotta give it 5 or 6 minutes, a significant pick-me-up. So I really encourage you guys to try that out. And even if you're not in ketosis, Trader Joe's has these awesome little packets of coconut oil. I've done videos on that before, super awesome stuff. Okay, so you just rip one of those open, pop the coconut oil in your mouth, and you will find that your workouts actually shift in about really 5 to 6 minutes. You really kick it in. Mr. Clever, yes, there's a benefit to balance fats and carbs like 50-50. You know, there is a benefit there. It's just, the problem is that it depends on the person. You know, you can't be combining fats and carbs all the time because you're spiking your insulin while consuming fats. That's really hard on the body. That's hard, and it gives you the potential of storing a lot of fat, of storing basically spiking your insulin, shuttling the fats into storage, which is not good. Mommy, Mommy Trey, you ask about organic quinoa. Is that a starch? It is definitely a starch, but it's a slow digesting starch, and it has some inflammatory components to it. It's got some phytic acid in it, which makes it very hard to break down. So it makes it really tough to say I would recommend using that during a workout. Okay, I'm trying to give you like very easy to digest, very simple things that you can get at the regular grocery store. I'm going to end up turning this over into a Q&A here pretty soon. Jimmy, what's going on? We got Texas in the house. We've got quite a few people on here now, so I think the technical issues are no longer here. I think we're finally working. I think things are functioning now. So if you guys can, please do me a big favor and just hit that like button for me, because that gets these comments or gets that engagement way up, and it helps YouTube see that this is a good video and that I am doing a good feed and that I am providing good content. So if you please can, just hit that little thumbs up button. It helps me out a ton. And go ahead and comment if you are watching and if you are a new subscriber, if you've been new to my channel maybe in the last couple of weeks, and that way I know who a new subscriber is and I can welcome you and say hello. I'm gonna have to check out the time here in a little bit because I know I've got to be off this live broadcast before 4:30 Pacific time. So I'm gonna turn this over into a Q&A here in just a minute. Philip asked if I can talk about theacrine a little bit. So you probably saw my video on theacrine. Pretty interesting stuff. So theacrine is sort of like caffeine. It's still dopaminergic, and it still also affects on the adenosine receptors. So it's the adenosine receptors work in a very funky way. Essentially, caffeine occupies the adenosine receptor and makes it so that you're blocking, I'm going to call them fatigue molecules from entering in to the brain, okay? Once caffeine wears off, all of the fatigue molecules that are hanging out that couldn't get into the brain flood in. So that's why with caffeine, you notice that after a while, you crash, okay? That just comes down to the fact that, yeah, the fatigue molecules, we'll just call them, which is essentially adenosine, comes into the brain and makes you tired. That is what we have to really be careful. So then when we look at the next step further, okay, we're looking at things like theacrine now, okay? So theacrine is a form of an adenosine receptor, adenosine modulator, so it kind of works in the same fashion. But studies are starting to show that with theacrine, there is no crash or there's no tolerance. Now, I don't know a whole lot about it other than the basic research that I've done. I put out a video on it, so I hope that answers the question. Can you recommend a clean keto-approved BCAA? That's a good question. In fact, I just submitted a research topic over to some of my research team to really dive into that, because I'm confused a little bit about the fact that BCAAs do spike your insulin. Okay, they do cause an insulin spike, but at the same time, they aren't supposed to kick you out of ketosis. I have a hard time kind of computing that. I'm kind of like, okay, if ketosis is the absence of insulin and the presence of ketone bodies, then by having BCAAs in the mix and we're spiking our insulin a little bit, are we kicking ourselves out of ketosis? Problem is, nobody's really doing a lot of studies on it, simply because it's not that common of a question, but I'm seeing it come through in my channel a lot. Guys, I'm going to recap just real quick here, just because I know we have a lot of people that just joined in and everything like that. The 3 foods that I really recommend when you are intra-workout is in the middle of your workout. Are going to be rice cakes, simply because, not because they're easy and they're low calorie, because they digest very fast, and because the puffed process of the starch allows the glucose to be separated from each other, so it's not in a typical starch molecule. Therefore, you get the uptake much faster. Therefore, you get the glucose into the muscle much faster. And if you're hydrated, you create an isotonic state, and you actually allow the water to be drawn into the muscle along with the glucose. Therefore, first of all, giving you a better pump, but that also means, even for those of you that aren't necessarily looking for a pump, it gives you better cell volumization and allows nutrients to get into the muscle a lot better. So therefore, you have a better workout simply because the muscles are fueled right. Someone asked what kind of rice cakes. It all depends. I usually go for just the very basic rice. Hopefully that didn't get too screwed up. Sorry guys, there's a phone call that came in on my phone and I had to cancel it really quick. So it doesn't really matter what brand of rice cake or anything like that. All that really matters here is the fact that we are getting that high glycemic, quick digesting carbohydrate. So hopefully that answers your question, but usually something that's like 7 to 10 grams of carbs. Try not to get the super sweetened ones. Don't go for the caramel or the chocolate ones, not intra-workout at least. Okay, and then the next thing I wanted to talk about that I mentioned earlier in the video, but for those of you that are just joining in, was simply cream of rice. Okay, so cream of rice, what that is it's a pulverized form of rice. Okay, it's usually in the cereal section, right next to the cream of wheat. Cream of wheat, of course, has gluten in it, so I'm not a big fan of that. But if we go with the cream of rice, since it has more surface area, your body's going to assimilate a lot better. Still a starch, still a grain. If you're avoiding grains, you may want to avoid this. But it's powerful when it comes down to giving you something that your body can assimilate during a workout. Now you might be wondering, how do you consume this? I would recommend putting it with your protein shake or putting it with your kind of BCAAs, your glutamine, your intra-workout drink that you may consume. Yes, it'll make it a little bit thicker, it'll make it a little bit of a nastier viscosity, but you'll be able to get it down and it tastes a lot better. Hey, those of you that don't know, by the way, I don't know if you guys all follow me on Facebook or not, but just my wife is pregnant. We just announced it. We're having a boy, so we did our gender reveal. So we're super excited about that. She's due in October, so I'm going to start every once in a while posting some stuff about kind of that journey as well. Because what was interesting was Amber and I were both in ketosis when she conceived, and it's kind of interesting. You know, I could go on a whole topic about that, but there's a lot of studies that are starting to show that ketosis actually increases fertility, which is okay. I don't need to go off on that tangent. But I do have a lot of women that actually post comments asking about things like that and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. And for those of you that are probably wondering, now that Amber is pregnant, my wife, no, she is not doing ketosis. And there's good reason for that. When you're pregnant, ketosis isn't always good because you do need to be providing the fetus with some glucose. Brain development, initial brain development does require glucose. So yeah, she came off of ketosis, but it's, it's still pretty interesting. Bill Lawrence, no, I am done with that. I don't know what that means. But guys, I'm going to have to start wrapping this up here soon. Michelle, you asked, what about drinking apple cider vinegar with pink salt during a fasted workout? Yeah, if the apple cider vinegar doesn't bother your throat and bother your gut while you're working out. You see, for me, that would probably tear me up a little bit. So if you can handle that, then absolutely. Oh, Bill says you're done with having kids. I thought you meant you were done with my channel because I'm having kids. It's like, come on, man, come on. Guys, if you can, make sure that you hit that like button, make sure you share this video, and make sure you continually comment so we can get lots of engagement on it. Hopefully, the views will go up on this video a little bit later. I think it might have been part of the time of day that I did this video. It was just kind of flopped. Usually I have a few hundred people on these things live. So then we've also got a lot of people that are asking questions about, again, the BCAAs and everything like that. And then Bill says my life will change significantly. Yeah, I know it will, but you know what? It's I'm easygoing. I work, I spend time with my family, and it's now I just get to have one little bundle of joy along with me for the ride. So it's awesome. I'm excited about it. So thank you guys, everyone, for saying congratulations. That's super awesome. Cool, Kevin. You asked where you buy matcha. Your grocery store only sells a blend. Amazon, man. Hit Amazon. Get matcha on Amazon. It ends up making it a lot easier. You heard a study about polyunsaturated fat increasing something called sex hormone binding globulin, which decreases. That's a good question. I have seen that study, and the interesting thing is that sex hormone binding globulin is basically what binds the testosterone that is in your body at a certain point in time. So any testosterone that is not bound to SHBG, that will be testosterone that allows you to build muscle, allows you to be have manly characteristics. Testosterone that is bound to SHBG is bound in the sex hormones. It's bound in trying to create fertility, trying to create sperm, things like that. That's how that works. So if you have a high level of SHBG, your free testosterone is generally low. Now, polyunsaturated fats and that link with that, it all depends. The problem is that most of these studies that look at people that are consuming high amounts of saturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and high amounts of fats in general, they are looking at typically unhealthy people that are eating high amounts of fat, but also eating high amounts of sugars, also eating high amounts of other things. That's the hard part, is when we look at typical America, or typical world in general, and we look at these studies, they're very skewed, very hard to pinpoint exactly, because with mice studies, and I'm not a big fan of animal studies, to be completely honest, but I have to say things are controlled when they're in an animal study. So when you're looking at a mice study with ketosis, for instance, or a mice study that's really looking at sex hormone binding globulin and how this works, well, in a mice study, things are controlled because you can dictate exactly what that mouse eats. You can dictate how much that mouse exercises. You can dictate when that mouse goes to sleep or stops being active. You can dictate so many things about that mouse's life. Okay, with human studies, we can't put humans in a cage. We can't study them like that. We can't control everything they eat. So what we will typically do in a research study is say, okay, we're going to take 50 or 500 typical Americans that eat high-fat diets. And then we're going to look at their testosterone levels and their sex hormone binding globulins. Well, by and large, even though here we are talking about lots of people that eat high fats and ketosis and things like that, so between you and I, sure, we know that high fats aren't necessarily bad, but the big mainstream public, if you're going out and you're grabbing 10 people that eat high fat diets, they're usually eating high fat diets because they're eating junk. Okay, maybe 1 out of those 10 people is actually eating a high fat diet because they're eating a low carb high fat diet. So that whole sex hormone binding globulin study doesn't really help us out much. You know, there could be a strong correlation that maybe these people are borderline diabetic. Maybe they have other factors. Maybe they have heart issues. Maybe they have all kinds of, pre-diabetes. Maybe they have autoimmune conditions that we are not really knowing about because all that we're focusing on is that one particular thing. So I hope that clears that up a little bit. Give me 1 second. I've got to take a look at what time it is. I'm just sitting on my couch here in my office. I know I've got to be on a call here soon, so just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I've got about 5 more minutes before I've got to wrap it up. You guys are awesome, by the way. So if you can, make sure you comment where you're watching from. That way I can just say hello really quick. I'm just sitting here in my office. Got back from Austin, Texas last night. Was out at, I don't know if you guys know the channel Six Pack Shortcuts, but I was out there at their office shooting a bunch of videos. What's going on, Sarah in Iowa? What's going on, Christopher in Washington? What's going on, Philip in Kansas City, Missouri? Took me a second to see that KCMO. We've got Alan in New Orleans. What's going on? We've got Bill Lawrence in Huttenberg. Good to see you, man. You're always here. I think you were on my broadcast yesterday on Facebook too, Bill. What's going on in Holland? We've got Portugal, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We've got Tampa in the house. We've got another Iowa. We've got Nevada. We've got Green Bay, Wisconsin. We've got Georgia. We've got Sweden. We've got Adrian. What's going on in the UK? We've got San Luis Obispo in the house. Hey, I was up there this weekend. We've got Michigan in there. We've got New York City. We've got Manny in Arizona. Paul in Albuquerque, Canada, New Jersey. Tommy in Scotland. Bend, Oregon. Kosovo. We've got Thomas in the really learning a lot in the UK. Zozo in New Orleans. Awesome. You guys are so awesome. We've got you subscribe to Six Pack Shortcuts, you've probably seen my video there. We've got Alabama in the house. We've got Massachusetts, Dublin, Ireland, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Brazil, Philippines, Romania. I love my international audience. We've got Nolan in New York. What's going on, Nolan, my man? I'm going to have to sign this off here in just a second. Tuniscat, Washington. We've got New Zealand in the house, San Antonio. This is what I love. Keep them coming. I love shouting you guys out when you guys are. Let me know where you're watching. Bulgaria in the house. We've got, you saw Mark's Quick Dinner. Yep, he posted that up a couple days ago. We've got how to start learning about ketosis, Troy. Check out some of my ketosis playlists. I think you'll learn a lot, my man. Okay, we've got Massachusetts in the house. We've got Dominica. We've got London. We've got everyone's awesome. You guys are so awesome. If you can, hit that like button. Make sure we get some good engagement going on this video. Transylvania, we got a vampire in the house. If you hit that like button, it helps rank this video quite a bit better. Sarah, you say you love my background, meaning my horns back there, or my physical, like my educational background. Nola, I'm glad that you like these videos. We got Sarah in New Mexico. What's going on, Sarah? You guys are super awesome. Philip, you ask if I do live shows every day. No, you know what I need to do is I need to start getting more consistent on when I do these so that you guys know when to hop on. Because I think that's the biggest problem is, I know people get push notifications and it ends up making it kind of tough because you can't always just hop on a live broadcast with me. It makes it really, really tough. What times of days and what days of the week do you guys generally find are best for live broadcasts? Like, would it be better if I do these later in the evening, like when I can hop on and talk with a larger YouTube audience? I mean, you guys let me know, and I'll kind of query that and sift through the comments and stuff like that. Like what days of the week, what times, things like that. It helps me out a lot. You just received the email and it's almost over. See, that's the thing. There's got to be a way that YouTube can allow push notifications. Like, is anyone getting push notifications to their phone when I do these videos? Because that's what would be great. So many people end up having to wait until the email comes in that I posted a new video. Really, it makes it tough. Okay, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Had a couple people say, Bill says evenings are best. Okay, so I definitely will start pushing these back later into the evening. Evening, 7:30s, 7 p.m. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to start to. Okay, so some people get a notification. That's really interesting. I don't know why not everyone gets a notification. If anyone knows the way that they can turn on notifications, let me know, because then I will do a specific video instructing my subscribers to turn on notifications. They know when I go live. because I do these live videos on Facebook all the time, but I'm starting to wean off of doing them on Facebook simply because Facebook is so weird with their algorithms. So hit the bell to turn on notifications. All right. All right, cool. I will actually start making sure it's next to the button that says subscribe. Perfect. Okay, I will do that. I will, when I start doing my videos, I will make sure that I have people turn on the notifications. So you have to have the app and then you hit the bell. Okay, awesome. See, here I am, like YouTube with 80,000 subscribers, and I still don't even know how to actually hit the bell. So that's okay, so if you hit subscribe, you get one, but not right away. Got it. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So I'm getting notifications popping up on my phone. I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Let's get one last big round of hitting that like button if you haven't already. And you guys are super awesome. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. And please, share my channel with your friends if you can. Hit that share button because it really helps out a lot. My channel's growing significantly. I don't know if you guys have noticed. It's been growing like 500 to 1,000 subscribers a day. Getting to do some pretty cool collaborations. Oh, that's one more thing, guys. If you have ideas on people that I should collaborate with, big other YouTubers, other people with larger YouTube channels that are interested in collaborating that are science-backed, let me know, because I have resources to reach out to these people, get them on my channel so we can actually have some cool collaboration. Matt Ogus, that would be a good one. One thing that I really like to do is actually have conversations with people that have opposing views to me. I have a very organic, anti-inflammatory based approach. I would love to have conversations with people that maybe have different, Drew Canoli is a friend of mine, so that would be an easy one. That have different backgrounds, because then it makes it easy to actually get a nice debate where good science gets going and it's all friendly, but really, and Dr. Berg, he and I have actually, I've had some email correspondence with his team. Jason Whitrock, I know Jason really well. We go back when he was working with Iron Man magazine and stuff like that. So Jason would be a good guy to do some collaboration with as well. In fact, I'll reach out to him. And Lane Norton hates keto. Yeah, Nolan, you're totally right. Lane Norton also doesn't like me too much. So Lane's a good dude. Like, I love him. Like, I really like his approach. I like who he is, but he's not the biggest fan of me. He appreciates the fact that I put a lot of research into things, but he and I, where we diverge is my take on inflammation, his take on inflammation. So it's all good. It's all good. It's all fine and dandy. Vitruvian Physique, Igor, yeah, that would be a good idea. Mr. Clever, you asked if I know Dr. Berg. I don't know him personally, but he's been blowing up on YouTube. He's a good dude. I like his stuff. So I have some emails into him, and I've corresponded with his team a little bit. Jerry Brainham, that would be a good one. Mark Loblinger, that would be good. All of these are great. Jeff from Athlete X, his channel's blowing up so much, I don't even know if he'd talk to me right now. Like, his channel's just, I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's been growing like 5,000 subscribers a day. It's just like blowing up. So, guys, I have to sign off. I've got to hop on a quick phone call here. You guys are super awesome. I will talk to you soon, so make sure that you do turn on notifications if you haven't already. Make sure you share this with your friends, and make sure to check out all the videos that I'm posting here on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. And if you guys want more videos, I can do more videos. So, you guys are awesome. I will see you soon.